Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Meseches MEILAH Daf Zayin. We are holding on Vavam Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Itmar. We are having a discussion relating to the Mishnah we learned yesterday. We had a machlokes, difference of opinion between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer. In a case where the basar, so the meat of the korban of the Kodesh left the area, Yotzei, left the premises, in which case it becomes pasul. And now, suppose it did come back, but it was already stamped as pasul material because of the Yotzei status. Now, he proceeds with the korban. He does the avodos, he does the zrika. Now the question is, this basar that had left the area, how much can it still associate itself with the korban? And the akrava procedure of the korban, can he still benefit? Can he still be impacted by the akrava, by the zrika of the dam? Or shall we say he's already disengaged? He no longer identifies with the korban. He can't be considered having experienced the zrika of the korban. In which case, for instance, in the case of basar kodesh kodashim, where the zrika deactivates the MEILAH of the korban, it will not do the same for the yotzei material. Conversely, in the case of kodesh kalim, where the zrika is meant to endow the emurim with MEILAH, to activate MEILAH upon the emurim, it will not be able to do so, because these do not relate to the korban anymore, because of the psul yotzei. So that was the subject of machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer, who says, no, the zrika of the korban cannot accommodate those materials, whereas Rabbi Akiva says it can. After all, it's still part of the same korban, and can take part in its experience. Itmar, Rabbi Yochanan, so Rabbi Yochanan conveyed a limitation in Rabbi Akiva. You should know, Ki Amar Rabbi Akiva. When does Rabbi Akiva say zrika of the korban within the azara? Moyelas liyotzei will accommodate that material which had left the area. Sheyatzu mektsasoi was speaking the only part of the basar left the area. Aval yatsa kulai loi, but the entire behema left the area and became pasul b'yotzei. Even Rabbi Akiva would agree in this case that zrika cannot address it. What's the difference between these two cases? So Rashi says, look, if only part left, part remained behind, migo, since the zrika addresses the local material, so it expands over and addresses everything else as well. But not in the case where everything was stamped as yotzei. Aval yotza kuloi loy ama Rabbi Akiva, he wouldn't say the same. Ama le Rav Asi. So you turn to Rabbi Yochanan. He says, how could you say that? That the zrika will not accommodate if it's entirely yotzei. You know, back in Bavli, my colleagues had already taught me a brisa, which seems to say otherwise. It seems to say that you can address even a case where it's totally gone. We turn to the next Amid. So they're talking about pigul. Person not a machshava, I'm going to do it, I'm going to eat it, in a week's time, pigul. And what is he thinking about? Rashi explains he's doing the zrika, which is the last of the 4 avodos, with the intention to makdir the fats on the mizbeach, the wrong time. And even though the material is not here, it's avod, it's lost, it's sarf, it's been burnt up. You can think about that too. By doing so, you have activated the pigul status on the entire korban, and if somebody eats from this basar, there's karas, etc. How could you do that? Lost? Burnt? It's not here. How could you address that? How could you relate to that? It's like the case of yatsa kulai, totally gone and totally nothing to think about in terms of proper korban material. Here it's totally gone. They're not around. Still, the Brisa says you can have machshava on them. Machshava on those disappeared materials qualifies as a machshava to generate pigul. Likewise, says Rashi in our case, where the entire basar left the area. So again, even though it did come back, that's not relevant. The fact that it's pasal b'yaitze, it's sort of disengaged, disqualified. And even if it's completely stamped as such, so there's nothing to latch on. Why wouldn't you be able to accommodate it? The fact is, the carbon can still relate to that. So again, Rabbi Yochanan taught that Zrika can only help the Yaitse if there's some material that's not Yaitse. So there's that foothold of proper material, and that expands over to the other. And here he's saying, look, even something which is totally gone. And likewise, if it's totally Yaitse, there's no foothold. It should work. Ask the Gemara, really Rav Asi conveyed this halacha that it works on Avad Asab? Umi Amar Rav Asi hachi? Is that so that he related this halacha? Rav Asi himself asked Rabbi Yochanan in a similar case, Chishev l'nishpach in the machar mahu. Tosfos learns. So he was doing a zrika. What do you have in mind? On the nishpachen. Nishpachen means that there's some blood that's spilled out of the kli onto the floor, which is pretty much going to get lost, going to go into the drain, right? You don't have to recollect it, and there's no halacha that you have to. So basically, it's as good as lost. It's like avad, like sarif. And he had in mind to take that material and v'zoyrek it, tomorrow, the next day. So he's planning on feeding them as something at the wrong time. That's classic pickle, but on which material? Material that's really on its way into the drain. Nishbach. Chishev l'nishbachen l'machar, to do it tomorrow. What's that? Amalei. Reb Zera. Upon hearing this question posed by Rav Asi, he says, Kvar shonislu lanu. You already taught us the Mishnah, where we learned that there's no pickle in this type of instance. Alol is a stiff tendon, a neck tendon, which Tosfos learns is not something which you typically eat, but you could technically eat it, but typically it's not. And the halacha is, it doesn't have a din of food regarding tumah. So what do you see from here? Tosfos learns that actually we learn that Allah also doesn't have. People cannot manifest if the thought was about the Allah, because it's not something which is typically part of the edible portion of the experience. In any case, he says, look, once we see from there, from the halacha of Allah, that something which isn't typically eaten, something which isn't really considered food, machshava, people cannot relate to it. Alma, what do we see? Hi, this al kim de lesbe meshasha, doesn't really have food value. Lo yikibo tuma, will not be a tuma carrier. Likewise, these spilled bloods on the floor, since they're meant for destruction. Loi, the Bach adds the word loi, mahani machshava, people cannot relate to it. And certainly, in your case, when something is really lost, avad and saraf, of course, people cannot relate to it. How could you suggest it would? No, so elodiktani. And likewise, the case of where the entire carbon was yaitse, left the area, it's like it's fully slated for destruction. You have to burn it. It's like it's non-existent, and the Zrika cannot address it, cannot accommodate it, and deactivate its MEILAH. As per Rabbi Yechanan's clarification. So now we still have one thing to explain. That brisa right on top of the Amid, which says you can be machashav an Ovid and Sarif. How does that work? Ela diktani. Ala Ovid ala Sarif. What about the brisa which says you could do pigel on lost and burnt? Kashi. How do you explain that? Amarava. We're not speaking that it's already burnt, already destroyed at the time of Zrika. We're speaking that it's slated for burning, slated for destruction, slated for being lost. What happened was that he had a machshava. He was doing, the Zrika with the machshava to feed the murin onto the mizbeach tomorrow. Turns out, I never made it to tomorrow. It got lost, it got burnt in the interim. Tesis learned. He actually started that process. He said he threw it to a dog's mouth. So the dog was about to catch it and consume it. He threw it towards a fire. So, in the current moment where the machshava was taking place, it was still in existence, but it was on the verge of being burnt or destroyed. That doesn't interfere with the pigul process. The fact that it's still there. In which case, pigul can take effect. Okay, so bottom line, although Rabbi Akiva does say that pigul, that the zrika of the Kodesh Kodashim within the Azara can accommodate, can impact the basar that had been stamped with psul yated, that had left the area. But, says Rabbi Yochanan, that's only if there's something that was still salvageable, something which had stayed behind. So it starts with that and expands. The Zrika will address this and expands over to the other material, but it's completely yaitse. Zrika cannot accommodate it. And it turns out we have another example of such regarding nishpachen. Since it's li'ibud, machshava cannot. Likewise by olol, regarding the brisa, odras ola soref. Yeah, there it's not yet. It's just on its way. That's not a factor at play. Amra Papa. One more clarification on Rabbi Akiva's halacha. Rabbi Akiva's Rika Melech Liyotzi. When Rabbi Akiva says Rika can address a Yotzi Elash Yotza Basa if the Basa left the area. Yotza, the Bach adds Yotza Dam. But let's say the issue is with the Dam itself. Nah. So once he leaves, even if he's back in town, he's been stamped with Yotze status, he can't serve as Rika material. Aval Yotza Dam means Rika Melech Liyotzi. Tanam Yavi finds him in a brisa, Shachab Shtika. Suppose he's shechted properly. No issues, no declarations, no improper intentions. We also dam, but the dam left the area. Even though it came back, but it was already stamped with Yotze status. But if he did Zrika on that dam, it doesn't have any effect on the carbon. For instance, regarding MEILAH, because Kadashim, where MEILAH has to be removed through the Zrika, no, it will not deactivate the MEILAH Alan Boy. Because from Kalam, where the Zrika activates the MEILAH, well, in this case it won't. In Alan Boy. Rakiva, in presenting his position to Rabbi Eliezer, presented a metaphor, marshal. He says it's comparable to some case. What's that case? So he speaks about a fellow who had a chatas, which got lost, set aside another one as a backup. He discovered the first one, he has both standing. He did shchita on both. Now one of them is inevitably going to be apostle, it's left over, it's called moiser chatas. And he does zrika only on one, right? The halacha is that, so he tells Rabbi Eliezer, wouldn't you agree with me that the zrika of the first one will accommodate the second one with respect to removing its MEILAH status? Because after all, they're one package, they're related, so once you did zrika on one, it's as though you did zrika on the other, and the Me'ilah is removed. But hold it, that second one is not possible. How can Zrika accommodate something which is possible? It does. So if it can do it on its colleague, on its teammate, certainly wouldn't you agree it could do it on its own material? So if the basar was Yaitse, of course, the Zrika of this carbon can accommodate it. That was Rabbi Akiva's correlation. Amar Rabbi Lazar, one more clarification. Amar Rabbi Akiva b'vas achas. Yeah, Rabbi Akiva's rule only works when he shechted both karbanos chatas at once. So whether he's using a long knife, did one both together with one swoop, or took a hanam simultaneously, then Rabbi Akiva held that it's one happy family, it's one package, it's one entity. It's like one guf. And the Zrika on one can accommodate the other. But suppose they were done sequentially. First he shechted this and then that one. Loy, it will not work. Because, as Rashi explains, as soon as he shechs the first one, the second one is labeled as a reject. It's moiser chatas. Even Rabbi Akiva would agree that the Zrika of the first one cannot address it. Tanya, we have a brayso Shimon. When I visited the town of Krapani, was the Anizokan Echa, this elder met me, and he says to me, is it true? According to Rabbi Akiva, if the carbon left the area, became possible, the Zrika can accommodate it. Amarli, Rabbi Akiva, Zrika Mels Yaitse, Martelo, yeah, hey, right on, yeah. Kshabasi, Vertzesi, Dvar Fnei Chaver Shebagolo. And Rabbi Shimon relates that when I went and presented Rabbi Akiva's opinion to my colleagues in the Golul, they were also surprised. Amrli, halay pasalu. Look, the carbon is pasul. Heich maratz ala pasul. How can the Zrika address pasul? Okay, so I went back to the source, to Rabbi Akiva himself. Can you imagine living in the time of Rabbi Akiva, coming back to him and says, can you please clarify your position? There's opposition. Yeah. So you went back to Rabbi Akiva. Bossi, the Bach says, Bossi, Rabbi Akiva represented all these arguments of Rabbi Akiva. Amarli says, my dear son, let me explain to you. You're going to agree as well. Look, Amarli, so instead of just promoting his position, he says, I want you yourself to come to that understanding. Amarli, bini, my son, wouldn't you agree that it is so? That Zrika at times can address even something which is possible. I'll bring you the raya from the double chatas, like we had in the Mishnah. Very mafresh chatas of the chatas disappeared. Another one instead. Then he found the first one. They're both standing. At this point, pre-Zrika, there's Me'ilah. He proceeds. Shechts both. And both bloods are sitting in containers. There's still Me'ilah. Okay, until the Zrika. Return to the base. Nizrak. Dam shlechem hem, does a zrika on the blood of one. Wouldn't you agree? Both are considered one entity, and it will remove the me'ilah from both. Wouldn't you agree? Kashem, just like the dam of number one. Let's call it number one. Will exempt its own basar from me'ilah. Will deactivate the me'ilah from itself. Af yiftar b'sar chavetim me'ilah would also accommodate and remove and deactivate the me'ilah from the number two. And if it works there, imitzel basar chavetim me'ilah, if it removed, if it absolved a basar of number two from me'ilah, even though technically it's possible because now moisar chatas, leftovers from a chatas, it's not really an active carbon, a kosher carbon. Dinu, wouldn't you agree? Of course, shiyatzal's psara. The zrika of a carbon can accommodate its own basar despite the psol yaitse present. So Rakiva explained this position, and he related to a fellow who did shchita on the double chatas at once. That was his point as well. Shechatan, but he meant this shechatan shneim, he meant vas achas, at once. And since the shchita occurred together, they're sort of bound together, combined, they're mitzurah into one entity, and Zrika of whichever one could impact the entire package, including the one that's possible. But, however, if the shechita took place separately, even Rabbi Akiva would not consider them as one entity, as one guf, to have the zrika from one accommodate the other. And Rish Lakish was not really pleased with that distinction. He says, look, if it's one, it's one. If it's two, it's two. What's the difference? How the shechita occurred. Amar Rish Lakish, Mishum Yikos Rav Yeshua, Tshuva Genuva. So he responded with a little of a trite expression, a stolen answer, a misleading, so to speak, response. Hey Shiva Rabbi Akiva responded like to that student. Because he implied that when it's shechted together, that turns it into one package. But if it's shechted separately, it doesn't. What's the difference? What is the difference? The fact is, we have a double chatas. It's like one guf. It's like one entity. Inseparable. He says, the kivin the basel hu. The fact is that as soon as he does the Yizrika, on one, the other one's puzzle, it's a leftover. So basically, it's not really fit for Akrov. And still, Rabbi Akiva maintains that it can be part of the Yizrika experience of the other one. Apparently, because he considers like one guf. Rashi says, guf echad. It's one, like one body, like one entity. Irrespective, it should not really be linked to the question of how the shechita took place. That shouldn't really impact this line of thought. You give me the paslo. Mali b'vas achas. Mali b'vas achas. What difference does it make if you shechted them both together or separately? Amalei Rabbi Yechon Rish Lakish, not so quick. Of course, it makes a difference. Even you would agree that that should be a factor at play. I'll even prove it to you from a third example, from a double asham instead of a double chata, a double asham. He says, you don't agree with that distinction between shechting together, which turns it into one, and otherwise it's merely two? Imagine you had two animals for carbon asham. Just in case, right? So very similar to the chata story. You had a double asham, only can use one. You shechita on both. And in this case, even if you shechted them together, it's not really going to help. Taisus explains why. So in that case, it was a double shechita. He has both available for the rest of the yakrava. Now, typically what you do is the 4 steps: shechita, kabbalah, etc. Right? Olay to zrika, followed by haktaras emurin, where you take the fats and put it on the mizbeach. Suppose he did that first. First, he placed the emurin, the fats, in the mizbeach. What happens now? Halach is, even if the emurim were delivered to the mizbeach out of sequence before the zrika, you leave them there because it becomes absorbed into the mizbeach environment. It becomes lachmish of mizbeach, the feet of the mizbeach. You leave it there. That's the standard halacha in this type of instance. But here, it's a little bit more complex. Because v'kadam v'hela imurin shel echad man, he took the imurin of, let's call it B, right? There's A and B. He took it from Asham B, placed it on the mizbeach before zrika. V'hela imurin shel echad man kaitim zrika, and then he proceeded with the zrika not on B, on A. Okay, so again he had a double Asham, shechted both. Took the imurin of B, put on the mizbeach before zrika, and then he proceeded not with zrika on B, which would ensure that we keep the emurin on mizbeach because of lachmish mizbeach. He did zrika on its colleague on A. Question is, what happens to the emurin of his colleague now? Wouldn't you agree, Shem Alu Yer, even though it was placed on the mizbeach, you remove it? That seems to be a given. Taisus explains because to turn into lachmish mizbeach, to mizbeach material, we all agree that the zrika of the first one could not help it. And even if they shechted them both together, it's not going to work for that purpose. And the question is, according to you, why? According to you, when you have a double situation, it's like one and the same entity. For instance, in the case of double chatas, even if there was no simultaneous shchita, it's one guf, it's one entity. So likewise in our case, in the case of double asham, it's one package. They're both serving the same purpose, the same function. Here too, it should be considered like one and the same carbon. And if it's really one and the same carbon, we know that if the Yimurim were placed before Zrika, then followed by Zrika, you just leave it there. If it's really one entity, why do you take it down? In general, the Yimurim of the carbon, shehelon, which were transported up to the Mizbeach lefnei Zrikas dam, after which Zrika was done, so it was out of order, lo yerdu. They don't come off. Nasr lachma becomes lachma shel Mizbeach. So that proves to us, to both of us, that's not just a simple premise. Guf echad, that it's one entity. It's not necessarily so. We find by the Asham it doesn't work. So even by the Chalas, where we are, Rekiva is allowing the Zrika of the first one to come to the other, that's only in a very specific case where it was shechted together, it went through the same akrava simultaneously, became one process. Ishtiksi remained silent. Rish Lakish. Initially he had challenged this distinction between simultaneous versus sequential shchita, and now he accepted Rabbi Yechanan's clarification. Oh, Rabbi Yechanan, I'm glad we achieved clarity. Katzatz tinun. I removed lebragloi, the leg is the nuka of the young one, or Shlokish was younger than him, so basically I got my point across. Okay, so in conclusion, Yaitse material cannot be accommodated by the Zrika of the carbon inside. Rabbi Lezer says no, Rabbi Kiva says yes. We have several conditions. It's only provided that some material had never left. So we have that foothold of kosher material on which the Zrika can take effect, and by expansion it extends to the rest. It only works when the basar was yaitze, but if the dam was yaitze, Zrika cannot be applied to that dam. Rekiva's correlation to the case of double chatas is explained as relating to where the shchita took place together, but bas achas, that makes it into one entity, and the zrika of one can accommodate the other. Says the Mishnah, Ma'aseh damim, the activity taking place with the dam, the blood of the carbon, Rashi explains, it's an expression for zrika. So the zrika experience, how does it impact a carbon? Well, it depends which carbon. You can go in two opposite directions, the zrika. You see, by Kachik Hadashim, there is MEILAH present until the zrika. So the zrika, in effect, removes the MEILAH from the basar, which is now available for the Kohanim to eat, but maintains the MEILAH on the Emurim, which is meant for the Mizbeach, L'Kachei Hashem. It also activates Pigel status, which only gets implemented by the zrika. Noisar, at this point on, if there's noisar, it becomes noisar material. If one eats it, this kar is tamei. At this point, the tamei halacha applies as well. When it's tamei and he eats the material, his kar is. So, regarding kachik kachim, the zrika can, in a way, be machmer, can add stringencies. It could also deactivate certain halachas, like MEILAH. By kachim kalam, it's just chumrah, because kachim kalam do not have MEILAH until the zrika, which activates MEILAH on the Emurim. So the zrika just adds chumras. It adds that. It adds pigul neiser b'tamei status as well. So the Mishnah is sort of going to present us like with a riddle formula. Ma'aseh damim, the zrika b'kachik adashim, there lahakal ulahachmer, can make leniencies or stringencies. Of a kachim kalam, it's kulu, completely stringencies. Lahachmer ketzad. Let's play it out. Kachik adashim. Lefnei, before the zrika damim, me'alan b'mirein v'basar, this MEILAH the entire entity. But lachas zrikas damim, me'alan b'mirein, this MEILAH maintained on the Emurim, because Kachei Hashem is meant for the Mizbeach, but there's no MEILAH on the basar, which is meant for the Kohen. Me'alan b'basar. Now it sounds like there's no MEILAH, you can't eat it, which is going to be the Gemara's kasha, because of course you could eat it, right? On both parts, on the basar and the Emurim, from the zrika onward, chayav, there's a potential for liability. Mishum pigul neiser b'tamei. Nimsa, turns out, Ma'aseh damim, the zrika b'kachik kadashim, can have a double effect. Lahakil, regarding the activating Meilah from the basar. Lahachmir, regarding adding stringencies as well. Namely, the pigul neiser tummy status that gets activated going forward. B'kachim kalam, however, kulan lahachmir. The zrika is just being machmir keitzad. Kachim kalam lifnei, before zrikas dam ein me'alim le'bemurim le'bebasar. There's no Meilah at all present. But la'achas zrikas damim, which separates, so to speak, it designates the parts for the mizbeach from the rest of the carbon. At this point, it activates Meilah on those. Me'alim be'murim be'ein, but there's no Meilah. But again, it sounds like you shouldn't eat it. There's no Meilah, but it's still asr, which is going to be a kasha discussed in the Gemara. Al-zeh v'azeh, on both parts of the carbon, chayav and olav, from zrika onward, you're chayav on it, mishum pigul noiser v'tam. And nimtza, turns out, masay dam in the zrika activity, b'kachim kalim, kulan lahach. Katani ein ma'alim b'basar. Let's move on to the case of kachik adash. After zrika, there's no longer Meilah on the basar. It sounds like there's no Meilah, but you shouldn't eat it. Meilah, hudeleka, ha'isur ikah. Wow, what's wrong? Hamamana the kain. No, it's meant for the kain to eat. It's fully permissible. Like Kasha, the answer is it's just an expression. It's not really an accurate. It's just sort of matching, contrasting, because on account of saying that before Zrika there is Meilah, contrast to after Zrika there is no Meilah. Of course, it's more than just no Meilah. It's mutter as well. Like Hashem, the Nasav Reisha, because we began by saying, well, pre-Zrika, Mayalin, there is Meilah, so Nasav Seifa, so it concludes with the contrast, post-Zrika, Ein Mayalin, but of course it's more than just no Meilah, it's mutter as well. But let's proceed with the Seifa, Amos Seifa. We have a similar kasha, which we can't really answer this way, because there's no contrast there. Bekachim Kalim, Kula Lahachim, the Zrika is completely Lahachim Ketzat, for instance, Basar Kachim Kalim. So before Zrika, Fezuk Damim, Ein Mayalin Behen, Umimirin, there's no Meilah yet. Likewise, it's not open to pigul neiser v'tamim. Vein chayav na'leim shem pigul neiser v'tamim. La'achas rikas damim. However, if there's rika, it activates Meilah on the murin. Okay, ma'alim b'murian, but not on the basar. Ve'im ma'alim b'basar. It sounds like, although there's no Meilah, but it's asr. So before Zrika there's no Meilah, and after Zrika there's no Meilah. It sounds like it's forbidden. Meilah deleka ha'isur rika. So there's no Meilah ha'isur ika. There is an isur. Why v'amay ha'mamayil de'bailamu? And here there's no contrast because both parts of the sentence relate to no Meilah. Before Zrika there's no Meilah. After Zrika there's no Meilah. So why did you use that language? It could have said it's mutter. V'amay ha'mamayil de'bailamu. It's the bailamu's material. It says shlamim to eat. Amar Chanina. Of course, in a regular situation you can eat it. The reason why in this case it's Asr, because we're talking about that unique case of Yaitse. Amr Chanina la Yaitzin. Rabbi Kivi. So Rabbi Chanina, we're talking about where the Basar had left the area, was stamped as Yaitse. Rabbi Kivi, we're going like Rabbi Kivi's Shita, that the Zrika can still accommodate that Yaitse, but yeah, only regarding removing the Meilah, but you can't eat it. It's puzzle of carbon material which has to be burnt. Ki Yom Rabbi Kiva Zrika Me'els la Yaitse. When Rabbi Kiva says Zrika can accommodate the Yaitse, that's only regarding removing Meilah, l'sreifa. So you remove the Meilah, it's considered standard kachim material, which is puzzle slated for burning. Of achila, with lemaratza, of course, it doesn't accommodate it regarding making it permissible for achila. Hence, the implication in the Mishnah that although there's no Meilah, but there's no heter for achila. Hadran lach kol kadash. Okay, all the best to you and hatzlacha, Rabbi.